Today I want to talk about why you should always attract and never chase, so that you can actually get the things that you want in your life without having to force it into reality, so that you can enjoy your future self, so you can enjoy the fruits of your labor, your financial independence, your increased social circle. When we talk about attracting and not chasing, it's important to understand what we necessarily might mean by that. And for example, whenever I've tried to get into any sort of relationship, whenever I actually put the effort to get into a relationship, and you might be able to sympathize with this as well, is it's always a whole lot more harder. But then you have on the contrary where it says, if you don't knock, how will you find? So for example, if you don't go out there and try and seek things, how might you find it? And I think one of the things when it comes to trying to get what you want in life is that it becomes a whole lot more harder to attain what you want in your life when you're treating it from a perspective as if you don't have it or that you're not worthy of it. So what I'm trying to get at here is whenever you're trying to get something out of life and it's a thing where you're intentionally chasing it to the point where you're essentially telling yourself subconsciously that you don't have it or you're not worthy of it, the thing that you're trying to attract, you're essentially chasing it, and that is running away from you. So what I've learned is it's more about cultivating your garden, so that if you imagine yourself having like a garden with all flowers and fruits and whatnot, and let's say that garden isn't very fertilized, all the fruits are quite small, they're quite dull, you might not see a lot of animals enter that garden, you might not see a lot of insects enter that garden, it's a dead garden. But what happens when you cultivate your garden? You begin to have different animals, different insects enter your garden. And it's the same thing with, for example, even in terms of like a human metaphor where, let's say you own a shop and that shop is, I don't know, not doing so well. But then you learn marketing, you learn sales, and you begin to drag those customers in. That's what life is about. It's about becoming the version of you that attracts the thing that you want. So for example, when it comes to like relationships, instead of trying to force yourself weirdly into relationships or trying to force yourself down the throat of somebody that you're interested in, one thing I've always learned and one thing I will continuously say to myself to this day is that I will never chase anybody. I think one thing I will do is I'll put in the effort for somebody, but if that effort is not being reciprocated, then I will leave. Become the best version of yourself. And I know it's one of those things that people say all the time and it's shady because, all right, thanks for telling me to become the best version of myself, but what does that mean? It means putting yourself first in every single situation, choosing a worthy endeavor that you yourself, your identity embodies, and becoming the best at it. Choosing to put yourself first, like I said, in every single situation. Fixing your mental health, your style, everything. Finding your hobbies. I know you probably don't have a lot of hobbies. You're probably addicted to your phones like 90% of the population, but actually go out there, spend some money to do some stuff. For example, this week I went shooting with my cousin, and it's something I never would have done, but you've honestly got to put yourself in situations, do things that you never thought you would have done before, because it's the only way that you'll figure out that you have hobbies. And what you'll begin to notice is you start to become more interesting, and people and things and opportunities will come into your life once you have some sort of something about yourself, that you're not just simply another person that doesn't have anything below the layer of their skin. All they do is, I don't know, watch movies and I guess all that stuff is all right, that's fine. But if you are the type of person that wants to become the best version of yourself, you want to become financially independent, you want to have a large social circle, you want to be respected, you want to have recognition in society overall, it's so crucial and important that you learn to attract and not to chase. It's one of those things as well, because you might look at certain people, maybe certain millionaires, and how they might so easily get what they want in their life. They might so easily get opportunities, cars. And there was this one quote that I was listening to by Jim Rohn, and he was like, if the millions in the world were to be lost by the millionaires and then swiftly given back into society, all that money would find itself back to those same millionaires. And there's a drastic truth to that, because if you look at, for example, anybody that I don't know, let's say, for example, you had a skill and you haven't involved yourself in that skill in a long time. So you've had skill fade, you haven't done it, then you come back to do it again. Naturally, you're going to have the upper hand on somebody that hasn't never done it before. Somebody that's been a millionaire, somebody that's had the proof of what it means to be a millionaire, understands the monetary management behind it, how to retain it, how to earn it, they just understand the fundamentals of being a millionaire. They attract millions. They don't need to chase. They understand that failures are part of the process in becoming a millionaire. Whereas somebody like yourself, on the way to becoming a millionaire, obviously, doesn't understand that. And so whenever you meet certain hurdles or certain mistakes, you take it as if the world is going against you, instead of the world working with you to redirect you onto the correct path. Attract, don't chase. For your own self-respect and for your own happiness and mental health, take that as a thing that you carry yourself with through in life. Always try and do the best you can to get what you want in life, but don't ever force yourself to the point where you're facing mental turmoil. We're talking about, still going for your goals. That isn't chasing. That's simply pursuing. And I know pursuing and chasing might be, but chasing is more of an intense word, as if chasing ensues or basically describes the fact that you don't have something and you're actively fighting to go and get it, in a less ideal term. But pursue something with purpose and an ideal to have it so that you can improve your life, not because you're chasing something out of a lack of abundance. But once you begin to change and reframe your mindset, you'll begin to see that things will fall into your life a whole lot more easier than when you decide to chase them as if you never had them. And remember, bro, never forget who you are.